I'm not going to start revising now because I'll forget everything before the exams anyway. This is what I said to Rick after he suggested that I should start revising from now. The nerve on that guy. Now Rick had graduated from Oxford and he was a few years into his career, so he knew what he was talking about. So he then started calmly and logically explaining why now was the best time to revise. I nodded my head and listened, but he could tell I wasn't really buying it, and I'll never forget what he said to me next. Anshul, I can tell that you're heading in the same direction some of my friends have. I'm now in a position to see the difference between those who worked hard at sixth form and those that didn't. When it comes to job satisfaction, earning power, respect, pick any metric, they are worlds apart. He then went on to explain that he had two groups of friends, the secret studiers and the cool coasters. The cool coasters kicked the can down the road all year, then panicked in March. They were the ones running around asking people what they were revising from, what revision techniques to use, and writing up all these elaborate revision timetables. The secret studies never even had revision timetables because they essentially started revising from the 1st of September. They didn't make a big deal about it or even call it revision. They took matters into their own hands and just did a little bit each day. So are you a secret studier or a cool coaster? Look, Rick knew I was a cool coaster and I knew it too. And technically I wasn't even that cool, so I was just a coaster. Anyway, Rick's words were ringing in my ears for days. I was scared and annoyed at the same time. I knew there was something wrong with my mindset, but I always assumed that I would fix myself later. Somehow I would improve my grades, get into university and be successful. But what if I was kidding myself? What if this trend of failure continued for years? A few days later, I called Rick and asked him what I should do. And his advice was simple. Move faster than your school by self-studying your subjects. It made sense. There was nothing stopping me from revising on my own. It's not like I hadn't thought about doing extra work after school. I just didn't have the motivation to do it. But then all of a sudden, I did. A month later, I had self-studied an entire biology textbook and started making plans to revise the rest of my subjects the same way. I had around 2,000 textbook pages to cover across all my subjects. I calculated that if I started revising 2 months before my exams, I would have to cover 33 pages a day to finish on time. Assuming each page takes me 15 minutes to learn, I would have to revise for 8 hours and 15 minutes every single day. That might work for someone with a high IQ, but my brain could not handle that. But if I started revising 4 months before exams, I'll be looking at around 16 pages a day. 6 months before exams, 8 pages a day. It became blatantly obvious that by starting now and doing a little each day, I would massively increase my chances of achieving a top grade. Rick was right. Over the days and weeks that followed, I transformed myself from a cool coaster to a secret studier. It didn't matter if it was a Monday, Sunday, Friday, half term, whatever. I did everything in my power to hit my daily page target. My longest stretch was 73 consecutive days. And guess what? Not a single person in my school knew what I was up to. After retaking all my exams, I bumped up my grades from DDDU to straight A's and got into my first choice university. I used a similar approach at uni and got a first class honours and an award by the Dean of Students for achieving one of the highest degree scores in my faculty. A few years later, I published 2 books called How to Ace Your GCSEs and How to Ace Your A-Levels that showed students how to become secret studiers. They sold over 40,000 copies and held the top spot on Amazon for over 3 years. Every year, I still receive hundreds of emails from students thanking me for convincing them to take matters into their own hands and start early. So when should you start revising? The answer is, and always will be, now.